We are. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, podcast world. And hey, people out there on Facebook. Welcome to another episode of Things My Mother Never Told Me. As always, we have another special guest for you. We're going to share some real good information, some serious stuff, and hopefully something that'll give you some education and some cause to stop and think. Can you say hi to the people?
Hi, everybody out there. Thank y'all for listening in.
All right. So now we're going to read the bio, and then we're going to jump right on in here.
Yeah, I'm gonna make this nice and sweet, short and sweet. We have Hannah J. Brooks. Look, affectionately known as a super lawyer, one of the rising stars of 2021. I was so impressed with that. She went to HBU, FAMU, for her undergraduate degree in political science, and she stayed there for her master's in social sciences. She also attended the University of Cincinnati College of Law. While there, she worked with the Human Rights Quarterly Journal, and for my human rights work, she was sent to work in what is that, Gaborone,
Botswana.
Botswana, for the LGBTQ um, Quarterly Journal, and for all right, HGBQ. Excuse me, I can't even read my own writing. Issues including the landmark. Ooh, what's the name of that case?
Lechabibo. Yeah.
Lagabibo case. She additionally worked with the Archdiocese of Southwest Ohio to process DACA claims as a legal internship, which led to a lot of organizing efforts with the local LULAC chapter. How about that? Oh, okay then. But yeah, so she's a top-rated family law attorney. Like you said, she's one of the super lawyers, and that's a rating service for outstanding lawyers from more than 70 practice areas who have attained a high degree of peer recognition and professional achievement. So I can tell she embodies excellence in the practice of law. And she has her own law office, HJB Legal Services. And we're going to continue asking you questions about that.
All right.
All right, Hannah, how you doing? Welcome to the
I'm
show.
wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great, doing great. So, again, we find ourselves with somebody with an extensive background resume, if you will, and so we're gonna jump in and get some of this stuff explained, especially for us.
Yeah, I was definitely tongue
Okay,
tied.
sure.
Right. So you went to FAMU.
Yes.
Yeah.
Florida A&M University in
Yeah.
Tallahassee, Florida.
That's right.
Mhm.
And see, and I think I told you when I spoke to you before. We love it when our guests went to HBCUs. It just shows what HBCUs are putting out, the quality of student, of business person, if you will.
Mhm.
And so we want to take every opportunity to recognize that as we go along in the show. So you let's start with the Human Rights Quarterly Journal
Yes.
At Cincinnati Law School. How did that go? What was that all about?
Oh, it's wonderful. So it's a publication for academics, and effectively people from all over the world will send in articles about different human rights issues internationally. So that might be human trafficking, it might be things with regard to International Criminal Court, it might be things with regard to Hague cases, which are cases with regard to children being moved not
Mhm.
across state lines but across country lines,
Wow.
things of that nature. And we would curate um, a journal based on those things. We would review them, make sure that they were properly researched, have conversations with the authors to make sure that they were able to see what our edits looked like, to make sure that everything was still accurate. And because I did that work, I had access to a lot of amazing different conferences and lectures and luncheons with human rights advocates in many different areas all over the world. And I was called to go work in Gaborone, Botswana. And Botswana is the country right above South Africa.
Mhm.
And Gaborone is in the southernmost part of Botswana. So it's about 30 minutes bus ride to South Africa from Gaborone.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
mhm.
Yeah, that's real close. Wow. And so in your well, see, that's a lot. So let me say this. Let me do this first. What made you want to be a lawyer?
Wow. So I've known I wanted to be an attorney since I was 10 years old.
Okay.
Um, because of the 2000 election. I was outraged at the idea of someone who did not win the general election being inaugurated. I was infuriated, and my 10-year-old mind was even more frustrated that all of the adults I was asking really had no idea either. So I was trying to get them to explain to me, and so I had to do the research on my own because people don't fully understand civics very well. And even if they did understand it very well, it can be kind of complicated to explain the electoral college process.
Yeah,
And
especially to a 10-year-old.
yeah, yes, I was a, precocious little child in
That's
some
it.
ways. I was very active. Um, and I asked a lot of questions, and anytime anyone asked me I asked someone questions and they weren't able to answer me, I would first get frustrated and then go to the library back in the day when you had to, go through the cards and use the Dewey Decimal System,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, before Google.
Yeah.
So
My era.
yeah. So my mother sort of instilled that habit into me because I asked a lot of questions as a child, and she did not really want to be bothered. And so she got me the multi-disc set of the Britannica Encyclopedia.
Right.
And for me, that was Google. I was like, whoa, you can put in these different CDs and look up things. I don't have to go through the library and, flick through the cards. I thought it was so cool. So that was my process. I was like, I know that I can go to the encyclopedia, and the encyclopedia can give me some keywords, and then I can go to the library and the librarian can help me, and then I can read and figure it out. And what I learned was that most folks in politics were attorneys first, and that sort of uh, that piqued my interest.
Okay.
I learned very early on that I had no interest in going into politics, but that is what set my path. Was like, I know I'm going to go to law school, and once I was almost finished with undergraduate schooling, I was pretty sure, and a year later became certain that I wanted to go further and continue with research in academia and not only the practice of law.
Mm.
Wow.
Mhm.
And that started as a 10-year-old.
As a 10-year-old, I was very, I actually, when I was unpacking, decluttering my mom's things, and I found there was a school spirit week, and they had a career day where you dressed up as what you wanted to be. And me and my mom had made our little business cards that said, HJV Hannah J. Brooks Esquire.
Wow.
Yeah, with a little gavel on it. And
Oh
I
my
was like, oh
goodness.
my goodness, this is hilarious to see this from 2001.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, it was very much, I always tell the story that I wanted to do it since I was 10, but it's really interesting to see how intense I was about it.
Yes.
When I was 10, I was just trying to figure out if I could go out and play basketball.
I know. And me too. Just got my bike for Christmas.
Wow. Okay, so this has been really a lifetime passion with you.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
My goodness.
Okay, so now you worked on that quarterly journal,
Mhm.
and then you worked on the LGBTQ issues
Yes, you
Yes,
did.
in Habarone.
in Habarone, and so this landmark case, what happened there?
Wow. So Lecha Bibo stands for Lesbians, Gays, and Bisexuals of Botswana. But in Setswana, the language there, the G is a ch, which is why it's Lecha Bibo. That's
Okay.
it's natural for them to say it.
Like
So,
oh, now I got it.
yes, yes.
I
So
got an ear infection, so I was like,
so in Botswana, at the time, and I think actually maybe still now, it was a criminal offense to be homosexual.
Mhm.
Just being like, if someone identified it and had proof, you could go to prison.
Right.
And that stopped being laws in America, well, state by state in the 60s and 70s.
mm-hmm.
And that was sort of an issue for a lot of people who are organizing, particularly because they wanted to have a group to advocate for LGBTQ plus rights. And they went to get what is the equivalent of a 501c3 status there. It's called something different, but they tried to register for it, and the government said, no, we cannot authorize an organization that promotes criminal activity because queerness is criminal. So there was a very huge and very public fight. And it was really honestly quite surreal being in this space where still at that time in America, it was not legal for queer folks to get married, for people to marry someone of the same sex. But there, the stigma ran so much more deeply, but within a younger population. It's a very interesting thing for me to see. So yeah, we had the heads of argument, which effectively is the opening argument that people usually give, that people tend to see on TV, and the outline of what the arguments are. And we drafted those based on international law because Botswana just has a wealth of opportunities because, like many nations in Africa, their independence is relatively recent, right? We're not talking about the 1700s. We're talking about the 1980s, 1990s. So they don't have a very old constitution to run on. So we're looking at constitutions from all over the world and building out these human rights arguments, which is something that we were able to do. I ended up having to leave in July, but I stayed in touch with everyone and found out that the case won in April, and everyone, it was just, there was no feeling like it at all. A kind of win for people.
Yes.
Yeah, so, and there were some interesting cases with regard to intersex folks at the time, because this was also around the time that there was a South African sprinter in the Olympics who there was a lot of controversy around. So it was all just extremely fascinating and honestly light years ahead of what I expected would have happened. So yeah.
Well, thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. So
that's all I can say.
Right. So you hitting the ground running.
Yeah.
Okay. And so and I'm going down as is outlined here in your bio. And so you also worked at in Southwest Ohio with DACA claims.
Yes.
And DACA's been a huge thing the last 4 years for sure.
Yes.
In this country. Yeah.
Yep. So that was a very interesting thing to come back to once I came back to the United States, started doing that work. And for anyone who might be listening who doesn't know, DACA's Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. Effectively, if you came over as a young child with your parents illegally, that there was a specific status that was made to make it so that you would not be immediately deported if you don't have any criminal background, including traffic tickets. It's actually very strict. We were filing DACA claims. Interestingly enough, I had come back from doing that LGBTQ plus advocacy in Botswana, and then came back here. But because I was working for the Archdiocese, there were people who were looking for DACA or refugee relief based on their gender identity or sexual orientation, who were afraid to go back to Somalia or afraid to go back to some other nation because of their gender identity or sexual orientation. But we weren't allowed to take those cases because it was through the Catholic Archdiocese of Southwest Ohio. And so those ended up being my first cases on the side that I had to take care of to help people out. Because I'm like, we're not about to, I can't just toss these out. That actually got me in quite a bit of trouble, but I don't regret it. But it was absolutely fascinating. And I remember also being nervous for doing that kind of work that required so much Spanish, because I did grow up speaking Spanish since I don't remember only speaking one language. ESL school, everything was in both Spanish and English growing up. But I hadn't had to do it in a legal setting when I was describing legal concepts. And I'm like, all of these concepts I've only even learned in English, and I just learned them in law school. So I learned, though, that as I was trying to figure out how to translate these complex legal ideas into Spanish that, just like in English, if you're not an attorney, you don't know what it means. And so
Mhm.
I have to, I have to explain it. And I know how to do that. So I can use basic language that I would otherwise already use, and people would be able to understand with no problem. So that was a relief and made me
Yes.
feel more competent and made me feel more encouraged to be able to help serve underserved communities with regard to language, because the high sophisticated language isn't really called for, and it's not called for in helping English speakers either.
Right. Right. It's only called for to confuse people.
Yes.
Exactly.
So all this for is to confuse, not to help. Wow. So you've been doing a lot of and I put on the advocacy work. What's the next section?
Yes.
That's mainly what you do, correct?
Well, that's mainly what I do in my spare time. They don't pay me for
You
that.
don't
They
have any of
that. That's what I do for free. That's my pro bono work. Yeah, my office primarily does family law, so custody, divorce, visitation, adoption, and the court appoints me to represent children, to be a guardian ad litem or a child's representative. And separate from that, I also contract as a federal mitigator. And what that means is when there is a federal case in which the federal prosecutor is seeking the death penalty against the defendant, which means generally a person who has committed murder,
Mhm.
the law requires that the court review information with regard to mitigating circumstances for reasons why they perhaps should not be put to death. So the defense team will call me up and say, "Hey, are you available? We have a case." Generally, because they need a Spanish speaker. Like, we have a case. This person is undocumented, or we have a case, and in one of my instances, this guy is, half Mexican, half Black American. We can't even speak to half of his family. Can you come on this case? And I'll say yes, and I will put together a report and tell the court why I believe the person should not be put to death.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
So that stuff is pretty heavy, much more heavy than people often ask, like, "Oh, family law, isn't that really heavy? Don't you get emotionally drained?" But in comparison to the death penalty stuff, it's easy.
Real
It's very
easy.
light.
Right. Yeah, because if you don't do a good job with the other stuff, somebody
Right. That's a different consequence.
Yes. Wow. And to do that kind of work, that says a lot about you. I mean, you sound like you really care about people.
People. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
And especially underserved people.
absolutely.
So
Yeah, they can't help themselves. Yeah.
right. So your journey into starting your own firm, your own law firm. How did you come to that decision that that's what you wanted to
It
do?
it wasn't very much my decision. I don't know if you all are folks of faith, but
Well,
this
yes,
is
we are.
yeah, that was God's call. That was not mine.
Okay. Well, then
It
it was a good
was
call.
yeah, I was very surprised. So I was at an office where I had a very high caseload. I was overworked. And then I was like, okay, I'm not happy in this situation. I started praying and praying and praying. I said, okay, I want a raise. And if I get a raise, then everything will be fine. Next thing you know, I get a raise. And I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And then 2 weeks later, I'm like, no, they are piling on even more work. Now instead of 80 cases, I have 150 cases I have to take care of. Oh my gosh. And then I started, praying and praying and praying. I was like, okay, let me get some job offers, because if I get some job offers, then I can leverage them for an even higher raise or for a different, position, and we'll work that out. And if it doesn't work out, I'll just leave and go to this, other place.
Right.
And I got job offers, and they were offering me half of what I was making. It was
Wow.
ridiculous. It was so ridiculous.
Really ridiculous.
And looking back, my husband has told me it's petty, but there are times in which I've wanted to write a letter to one of the interviewers in particular, just to say, thank you so much, because without you, I would never have opened my own office. Like, how dare you?
That's what they say. Send a letter saying thank you for shunning me, thank you for firing me.
Right. So I did end up getting other offers, and so I ended up asking for a raise for them to consider it. Before I asked for my raise, I asked for a review, so that they could tell me how much they love me and need me and can't live without me, so that we're on the same page. I'm like, okay, now that we agree that you absolutely need me, give me some more money. Right. So we did that, and it took them a while to get back to me. And I was like, you know what? I don't know at what dollar point I would actually want to be here. So I just started praying and praying and praying. I'm like, whatever it is I'm supposed to do, let me just be open to doing that and have the courage to proceed. And then everything started happening back to back to back. They didn't answer me for 2 weeks. And in that 2-week time frame, I was given information by a friend about a grant opportunity to get free office space for 6 months, and for at a discounted rate for an additional 6 months thereafter. I was given information about so law offices have to have a particular type of bank account to keep money separate, and usually you have to have a minimum of about 3,000, 3,500 in order to open those. I got an offer from a bank saying that for new business owners, they weren't allowing that, and you could have a $0 balance. Wow. I ended up having an old client from a prior office I worked at asking me to do something to moonlight and do a case for him, and he just so happens to be a tax attorney. This is important because attorneys are the worst clients, and he it was it was to date my most difficult divorce that I've ever done. And he still has ongoing issues because he has 12 children. So anyway, yes, indeed. So he said, okay, but here's the thing, for tax purposes, I don't want to pay you on the books. So let's exchange services. How about, you still haven't started your own office? How about I incorporate you just in case you want to start your own office in the future? I'll incorporate your name. You can deal with the address and everything later, but I'll do it for you. Just do this for me. And I said, okay. Yeah. And these are people who called me. I didn't call any of these people. I wasn't looking for it because I didn't want to do it. I was like, no, I don't want my own office. Attorneys. And I was like, no, I don't want to work at my own office. I work under somebody else's stuff. I don't want to deal with the tax implications and all of the issues, all of the liability. I don't want to have to do with my own health insurance, my own 401k. I don't feel like it. And just everything back to back to back kept coming to me. And yeah, then they finally they didn't really get back to me. I cornered them and said, hey, you all haven't gotten back to me. And they said, actually, we're not going to give you that money. Actually, you are fired today.
Whoa. Isn't that something?
Yes. And yeah. And I said, okay. And that was on a Thursday. On Friday morning, I went into that office space that I heard about, which so happened to be 2 blocks away from a courthouse. So I can walk to and from the court. I went there with my laptop, my charger, and my phone, and I started, typing up letters, making phone calls, called my clients. 80 of my clients came with me to my solo office. Wow. And them coming to me sustained me for 3 years, honestly, because that was in 2016, and there was so little work that I even had to do because of them. Those first folks who came, and the rest of my clients, they ended up having cases that had to close very shortly thereafter, or I didn't want them because they were difficult. But not difficult cases, difficult people. Right. I don't mind difficult cases. I love difficult cases. People less so. But what happened is that office ended up having to call me back and pay me to contract to go up to court for those cases to be dismissed or to be transferred over to me, because of the fact that they fired me without asking me anything about my court calendar. Like, you guys, like, I don't know if you realize how much work you've given me. Like, I have a lot of cases, and you can look at my court calendar, everything is there, but because it was my calendar, I was available on all of those days, and they had to give me a check that was like in addition to my final check that they gave me.
So they paid you to take their clients from
Yep.
them.
And so yeah, I never wanted my own office. I was like, oh, it's not worth the trouble. And now I'm so grateful.
Oh, I know.
And
The Lord told you at 10 that you
be careful what you pray for,
right?
because
And
you don't get it.
And the thing about it is that the beauty of it is that, as you just outlined it, every step of the way, God was moving stuff and shaking stuff and shifting stuff and directing stuff, and you was just saying, okay, not really realizing what was happening.
Right.
Okay. And then when you go back, oh yeah, by the way, you fired.
Yeah.
And next day you in your own law office. The next day.
The very next day.
And you didn't want to be there.
But here I am. Oh, and there was someone who called me saying, hey, I'm trying to get better at doing websites. Do you want me to do your website? Hey, I heard about this thing. Do you want me to trademark your logo? I'm trying to make sure I know how to do trademarks right. Like, it was so much back to back, and it was overwhelming. And I was like, okay, all right, God, I get the point. All right, I got it.
I know.
I got it.
What you say, Hannah? Be careful what you ask for.
Right, be careful what you pray for. I'm still give it to you. Pray for patience, and you're gonna have some stuff that make you wait. And you pray for these things. You pray for a raise, you'll get it. But do you want to get the extra work?
Right. So he said, okay, you're gonna get a raise, but you're gonna hate it because they're gonna give you more work. But watch this, I'm gonna give you a raise, and you ain't gonna have to do anything for it.
Exactly.
Just say yes.
Yep.
Because you said, like, the website, all these people giving you stuff.
Yes. And I felt overwhelmingly grateful, and just everything was in line, and it was just so clear. So that's why my office opened. I wasn't one of those people that said, yeah, I want to have my name on the door. Like, I was like, nah, I'm all right. I'll just get this money. And then, because I always knew that I did eventually, I do still want to go back to school, get some more degrees. I want to do some more research. And I was like, yeah, maybe I'll get tired of it and I'll just go back to school. And it has been a marvelous experience.
Mm-hmm.
So
you just work with Latinx?
No, I have a couple Black American clients. I've had a few Arab clients. I have not represented any white Americans, but primarily Latino, because I know that's definitely when courts call on me, because in all of Cook County, which is 10 million people, in all of Cook County, there are only 7.
Yeah, I did. I forgot to read that. Yeah.
Only 7. And so I was number 7.
Yeah.
So I was in my practice, because in the prior office where I worked, it was a primarily Spanish speaking office. I don't know that I can probably count on 2 hands how many clients I had that whole time that I spoke English with regularly. Okay. A few of them can speak Spanish, but they didn't prefer to. But the vast majority of those hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases that I had were all Spanish speaking. So I knew from my cases, when I had to have a child rep or guardian ad litem, that there were only a few, and that really, of those couple of people, there were only really 2 or 3, because the other ones were extremely expensive. They were for the cases for folks who have, property in several countries and things like that, which happens sometimes, just not all the time. Right. So that is the majority of my caseload, and that's usually who gets referred to me. And usually what makes people stop and pause when they would see me in the courthouse, they're like, "Whoa, you speak Spanish? I have your card." So I stick out in
you speak
their minds.
2 and 3 languages. You're right. You are definitely in high demand.
Yes, apparently so. And it's not a thing that I thought about a lot when I was younger, and it's not a thing that I put on my resume until it came time for law school, because I felt like an unnecessary, like often people just felt like it was a party trick, like, oh, you speak Spanish, tell me something in Spanish. And I'm like, for what?
Uno, dos, tres, yeah.
Right. So I never thought of it as a skill, but apparently
Oh
it
yeah.
is.
Right.
Mhm.
It's a perfect example of making yourself needed,
Yeah.
creating a skill
Oh
set,
yeah. Where
area
you in
that
demand.
right, right, that
Mhm.
puts you in high demand.
Like you say, super lawyer.
Right.
Man.
So before I want to go down here, you presented at the Oxford's Women Leadership Symposium.
Yes.
Now, wait a minute, what you doing over in Oxford?
So so many things. I have several research interests. One primarily being transitional justice, but another subset being environmental justice and environmental issues. Um, so there is a paper that I wrote while I was in law school, and it was a subject that I really loved. And I was like, I wonder if anything new has happened here. And I started to research a little more, and I amended that paper and I submitted to see if any conferences or any journals were interested. And they were interested. They said, "Oh my goodness, this is amazing. Come present." Uh, and like, what? At Oxford?
Right.
Like, what?
That's what we
That's
Like,
stuff.
said.
That's
Oxford,
stuff.
Oxford in
Yeah,
English?
that's right. That's
I
stuff you hear on
know.
TV.
Yeah. So I went there. I stayed there, and when I found out that I was invited there, I also started contacting the Oxford Black Alumni Network, OBAN, and I asked them like, "Hey, can we hang out while I'm there? I'd love to, see what the folks are like there, hear about your experiences there, because I know zero about what it's like to live as a Black person in the UK. All I can tell you about is the United States." Uh,
Hmm.
so they said, absolutely, there's a banquet, there's a dinner, you should come. So I ended up staying for 3 weeks in the UK, and I went to a banquet, went to several conferences, and met a lot of brilliant, amazing people who I'm still in touch with today. And I gave my presentation, and folks loved it, and it was very validating for me. And it made me feel like a real academic. And thereafter, I sent it over to them, the full, complete, amended version, and they asked if they could publish it. So it was published in a different journal, but they submitted to several journals within their network, and I ended up getting published for the first time. So yeah.
So you got another one of those things where people like say, you know I'm published.
Yeah, I am. I'm a published academic, and
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
yes, and this was all I was submitting it, and making plans to go over there all while I was teaching. So I had my law office, and then I had the federal cases, and then on Tuesdays and Thursdays I had my students at Wilbur Wright College, and then preparing my academic stuff. And it's
Wow.
it's been amazing, and I've learned so much. And yeah,
I'm
it's
amazed by you.
And so on top of all of that, you have the nerve to have a personal life.
good.
All work and no play. You
so
right.
so I'm all in your business because we have guests on here. We tend to try, my wife especially tends to look you up and see what's going on. So when did you get married?
I got married the 31st of December 2019. So it was a New Year's Eve party
Yeah, I
going into
saw it.
2020.
It was a beautiful, beautiful picture where y'all took him to the
Thank
place you had met. I was like, oh, this is too cute.
Right. And on top of that, because people don't know this, because we were trying to do a tag team with you and your husband, but for
Yeah,
reasons he can't be on it. But he's probably more busy than you, is he?
he's extremely busy. Yeah, he's well, he went to Fisk. He's a super genius. He's so smart. We studied for the bar exam
Super,
together.
super.
Yeah, I honestly don't believe I would have passed the bar exam if it wasn't for him. Like, the way that our brains work together, like, oh. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he's very busy right now. He works in bankruptcy, so There's a lot of that going on right now.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Wow.
Yes,
So that's
it is.
so not only are you a super lawyer, but y'all a power couple.
Pretty much, yeah. He does advocacy stuff too for housing rights. That is his passion. Making sure people have access to housing. So that's it's
Mm.
amazing to see him in that space when we're in volunteer spaces and
Mm-hmm.
able to speak on panels on those issues separate from the bankruptcy issues. It's
Okay.
been man,
Oh, okay.
absolutely.
Okay, Barack and Michelle.
I'll take it. Thank you.
I know that's right. I
Same
think
same neck of the woods.
I was like,
Okay, so we gonna
wait a
circle away.
minute. Remember you Eastern Star. How did you
I
get into
am.
that?
Oh my goodness, you did some digging.
She did some
I
digging.
did.
She said she
I said
did
she
you know
an
she's Eastern
AKA?
Star? I'm like, Eastern Star, that ain't in the bio.
Yes,
I said she an AKA. I was like,
yes, aka Eastern Star. Been involved with so much, and I'm just so grateful to not only do as much as I am, but to know other people who I feel like are doing more, and to be able to
mm-hmm.
support them and do and work in those efforts. It's just I'm always astounded by the amazing people there are, and I'm grateful for that. And I do think that that is also something that started when I was growing up because my mom is also a busybody. I think I got it from her, and and she's always been involved in everything. She never just like went to church. She was in the choir, and then also organizing events, and then also doing separate community events, and then making sure that I was there with her. And
Mm-hmm.
so I've always only seen people who cared about helping others. So
All right.
it's the only thing that I really fully understood. I wish
That's
there
how
were
we do it. That's how
more
we do
people
it.
doing that, but
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you. So are you affiliated with us, Prince Hall, or your Eastern Star affiliation?
oh no, it's I haven't been involved in a very long time, but it was in Tallahassee, Florida,
Oh, okay.
and they were the uh Proverbs 3:21.
You got so much stuff on
Hey,
it.
tell me the different acronyms so I can tell you which one it is because I know that I would know it if I heard it.
There are too many acronyms. 'Cause
I know.
There are too many jurisdictions.
Exactly.
But that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have to
That's
look it
fine.
up. Like, wow,
Yeah.
I haven't said that in a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, look it up, and if you figure it out, then just
Yeah.
email it to me.
For sure.
But at this point, I want to segue away because wow, look at the time. But anyway, here we come. Here we come. Things your mother never told
Man,
you.
one thing that I wish my mother told me is anything at all about black tax, because I've been learning that a lot lately.
Mhm.
So just the concept of black folks, and I guess people in general who come from working class families, but specifically black people who you get to a certain level of education, a certain level of income, and now everyone else's burden is yours to bear. And there is, it doesn't matter if you're making six figures because after student loans and after making sure that your grandma can pay for her medication and making sure your cousin gets bailed out of jail and making sure that you're watching your niece until somebody else is getting back from a different job opportunity, you're back to making the $30,000 you were.
I know. You ain't got to tell me.
And it's like, wow, this is because there are certain situations in which I give so freely, and I my husband is more generous than me. He's my moral compass on that. But I do I know that I give I know that I give of myself more than I give from my income. But if someone says, that they are in need of something or something is an issue, I'm more likely to open my home, open my kitchen. I'm more likely to say, well, I'll watch the kids instead of giving you a check for $300 for daycare. I'm more likely to say, well, hey, come on, and I will feed you dinner. I'll pack you up meals for the whole rest of the week than to say, well, here, I'll give you $300 for groceries. I'm that type of person. And a lot of people don't like that.
Well, that's because you have to be, because like you said, I had to retire so I can stop. I was like, I can't do no more. I'm like you. I can buy you the meal. I can cook you the meal. I can take you to the work.
But you know.
And I want to give
Right.
and bless other people, but I don't know fully. I've not yet learned still. And I'm embracing the journey because I feel like I'm learning so much.
Yes.
But I still am not understanding where the balance is to protect myself and my household's interests and making sure that I'm also giving back to my family because I don't want my family to struggle.
Right.
Yes.
But at the same time, they make certain financial decisions that make me frustrated when I give them money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why, and that's why
This is what I'm
you do it
saying.
in kind and not in cash.
Right?
But you know,
Yes.
it's funny. You're the first person. Applause to you.
Yeah.
We got a winner. You're the first person to say that.
Oh man.
To say that, to address that, and we know that, like, you know, and I forgot about what the black tax was until you just said it. I forgot all about it. But in our community, that is a real thing.
Yes.
That's why everybody's so happy when that first relative graduates from college, or when they get that big job, or when they do XYZ, because now we got another source of income. We got another source.
Yes.
Right.
But I'll tell you a quick story of why people, you say why they get mad. We don't want to get money. We years and years ago, I was unemployed, so I was at the unemployment office, and this elderly black woman came in, and she was asking people for bus fare. And so this one guy said, "Well, honey, I can't give you no bus fare, but I can here you go. You can take this." And she said, "Well, what is that?" He said, "Well, it's a bus ticket." She said, "Well, what am I supposed to do with that?" He said, "You said you wanted to catch the bus." She said, "No, baby." She said, "No, baby, I can't use that." See, so the moral of the story here, they don't want your help; they want your money.
Yeah. Very often. And
Yeah.
sometimes that's not the case. There have been many cases in which particularly my younger cousins and I had a very active role in their upbringing. Particularly my younger cousins when I walk them through budgeting and show them how I do my budgeting, and they get really excited about that and they check in with me about it and they're like, "Oh man, Hannah, look, I was able to do it. I did the thing you said." And they seem more excited to learn how to manage money better, but older folks less so.
Yes, yes.
So
That's the difference.
Yeah.
Young folks generally, for the most part, want to learn and want to be able to do for themselves. Where old folks like to fall back on that. Well, you can't teach old dog new tricks.
Yeah.
Our dog is old, and we just taught her something yesterday. So that's just not true. You can teach old dogs new tricks if they want to learn.
Yeah. They don't
If they
just
want
shut their
to.
eyes completely. You're right. You're right.
Okay, so let me ask you another question. You married?
Yes.
Not you still a newlywed, really.
Yes. Oh, definitely.
So what do you do for fun other than go to court?
In the pre-COVID world, I traveled a lot, and I actually used to work festivals. I because I speak Spanish was offered the opportunity to go to Spain and translate for a lot of different festivals. So there was a campsite that was housing a lot of the people going to Los Sanfermines, which is the festival for running with the bulls.
Okay.
So I went there and helped to organize the bus trip, and they paid me. I translated, and I was there. I went to a music festival to translate there, and to no, I didn't end up going to La Tomatina, to San Vino, which is a wine festival in Haro, Spain, and in San Sebastian, all on the northern coast of Spain. So that has been amazing. And so after I did that work there, that same company also did a campsite that housed people for Oktoberfest in Munich, Germany. So I did that as well. But I don't speak German, but they were like, "We like you. We want to keep working with you. So just come on." So,
You made a lot of people laugh. I tell you.
yes.
You were
Oh
so
man.
nice.
So much fun. So I did that. Yeah, traveling. I've been to 32 countries, 6 continents. Antarctica is going to happen one day. I know. I know it. But
Oh
just
my
6
God.
continents so
That's a
far.
lot of plane. Wow.
Yes. I love traveling and trying new foods, seeing new environments, new cultures. But in the post-apocalyptic, post-COVID world, I've been cooking a lot,
Okay.
and I got my husband got me a ukulele for Christmas, so I've been playing a lot. I, playing as in learning to make noises, right? I
Yeah.
don't know how to play yet, but I've been enjoying that. And I've been reading a lot. I love reading and talking about books
Of
and
course, you're a
talking about,
researcher, writer.
yeah, of course, of course. I like to read. um, so I've been reading a lot, cooking a lot, and finding ways to lower my carbon footprint, which doesn't sound like a hobby, but it really is. Because when I think about, I pay attention like every time I throw something in the trash. I'm like, what is this thing? Where did it come from? And what can I do to make sure I don't have this waste come into my home again?
Mm.
So I sit down and I think about that. And when I figure out a way to do it easily, I share it on all my social media. And if I figure out a reason that it's difficult, I send all of that on social media. Um, and yeah, because recently, because it's January, I don't know if you know this, I'm a vegan, and
Yeah.
Yes, she knows it.
yes. So there's this thing called Veganuary,
Mhm.
for people who are looking to go vegan just for January, or to try to be vegan for January, or for people who it's their New Year's resolution, where there's just a lot more resources and recipes and things made available. So when I started doing that, but also I wanted people, if they weren't ready or just totally not interested, if they just love meat and cheese too much, whatever, to look for ways to get that ethically sourced. Because I personally am not. A lot of vegans don't like this, but I personally say that I'm vegan for the environment and vegan for human rights rather than for animal rights, because a lot of the people who work in animal agriculture just aren't treated very well,
Mm.
and they like very terrible working conditions. And a lot of the farmlands where animal agriculture is, they contribute to a lot of environmental harm, and most of these are Black and indigenous communities, so like right outside of reservations and in poor Black communities. So I was encouraging people to look at their local farms and seeing what local farms were available, because that way you can get your meat, get your cheese, get your milk, eggs, whatever, but
Mhm.
you know that at least it's not harming humans.
Yes.
And that to me is such a huge, thing for us to try to start being, more local, more sustainable. So when people would ask me about it, they say, okay, Hannah, I'm interested. So I will go and I'll look and I'll find like down to the neighborhood, like where might you be able to find a farm more easily, or what local farms service your area, or is there a farm delivery service that comes to your area. And so for me, that's fun. For some people it's not, but for me it's like, oh yay, I made it so that someone else can use these services. And a lot of people don't want to do it outside of January, because
It's
things
cold.
have made it so that it is very expensive to get meat
Yes, it
from those
is.
small farms. So I understand. That's why I'm vegan, because it's cheaper to get the ethical food, because that ethical meat and cheese, that's what made me stop eating eggs. I was like, I told myself, okay, I'm only going to eat ethical eggs. And so then I started getting the ones that was, the brown ones that are,
Brown one.
yeah,
Mhm.
that was cage free. And then I looked up the companies and I'm like, oh no, I
I
don't want to
know.
support them. And then I started getting them from the local ones, like from the backyard chickens, and they was like $12 a carton. I'm like, what? $12 for them 12
They only
eggs?
had two chickens.
And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna not eat eggs. How about that? That's easy. I saved my $12. Cut it out. That's fine.
Only to give to a family member.
Well, that's, once because I love animals. I do love animals.
Mhm.
So I have a cat and a dog, and I do eventually want to have a garden and have some chickens, because they help with, eating the bugs
Mhm.
that will bother your
I
plants.
used to be scared of chickens on the farm. 'Cause
Really?
they chase you and
Well, yeah.
yeah, they kind of
Yeah,
rough.
it depends on their personality, but we'll see.
I
I'm
know.
curious to see how
I'm just
they
saying
work.
some of them. My mother had chickens
If
too,
you
so I'm
if you
just
Yeah.
kick
saying.
if you kick the chicken, it will stop chasing you. Trust me.
Oh no, I wouldn't kick the
I
chicken.
wouldn't
I'll
kick the
probably
chicken either.
just run and let it chase me.
Me
But
too. That's what I did.
but yeah, if I have my backyard chickens and they have eggs, I probably would give them to a family member. Um, but yeah, so that's a part of the stuff that do for fun, is try to lower my impact and feel good about, and help other people feel good about ways to lower their impact if they want to. But I understand that stuff is not available for a lot of people, because a lot of that stuff costs more money,
Hmm.
and it's really
Eating
the
healthy is costly.
Yeah, a lot of it's really the larger corporations that need to take more
There
responsibility.
you go.
But
Right.
I try to do what I can and make it so other people can do what they can as well.
Right.
Yeah.
But see, when I asked you what you do for fun, and the first thing you talked about was you travel, but you get paid to do that. Even
Oh
when you
yeah.
even when you're having fun, they paying
But
you.
Germany was I didn't get paid. I
Oh,
didn't get paid that
okay. Okay.
time.
Well, that's
I know out of one country out of 36.
that's wrong.
Right.
That's wrong. They should have
I
paid
know.
you. They should have paid you.
They got you scot free.
But it's amazing though, and really I applaud you because it's not everybody who can have fun trying to save the planet, if you will.
Mm.
That's
I
that's
enjoy it.
and that's good. We need more people like
No,
you.
no. See, I told you were ordained a long time ago at 10. The Lord saw you way back then and said, "Oh,
Probably so. I love it. And I was actually talking to my nephew who had been staying with me for a month, which is reference to that black tax. But my nephew who he's 23 and he'd been staying with me, and he really likes having he's a vegetarian, but he's excited when I'm here because his parents eat meat, so he likes when he can have the the food that I make. And it's usually very colorful because the fruit and everything are so
Mhm.
bright.
fresh." Mm-hmm.
And so it's just really nice to look at. And I was telling him, just like holding a blueberry, I'm like, how amazing is it that there was one seed out of the hundreds that all these farmers threw out, and these farmers, in whatever conditions that they're in, and all of the sun and all the rain and all the time that had to pass for this one blueberry to exist. And we're we're given it. It's our opportunity to take part in that. And so we have to appreciate it. And that is how I interact with my food, with anything around me, with feeling the brick and wood that my house is made of, all of the labor and all the effort and all the love and time, the tree that had to grow for
Oh
the
my
wood to
goodness.
be
See,
there.
you was
And
like
so,
me, Hannah, when we went to Hawaii, and then they was talking about how long it takes to grow a pineapple.
yes,
I was
yeah,
like, I was amazed, and that's what I'm saying. Then you get a better appreciation for certain foods.
yeah.
I'm just not going to waste my pineapple.
Yeah, exactly,
You
exactly. And
know?
so because I appreciate these resources so much, like I don't want to waste anything. I don't want to
Hmm.
contribute waste. I want to make sure that when it's my time to leave the planet, that I did my part to make it a better planet. And I want to help people to also do that too, and not just to do what I do because
You
I
hear
say
that,
so, but
listeners?
but also to feel that appreciation, because it just makes me so happy every time, like I make coffee sometimes. It's like espresso I make in a little cafetera, but I make it with it's a type of brown sugar that's called panela. I don't even think there's a word for it in English.
Mm.
But I'll make it with that and with cinnamon, and it's just like all of these plants just come together, and we get to have it in the morning for
Hmm.
energy. It's like how blessed, how wonderful.
I
Yeah.
know.
It just makes me smile. And it's
I know.
if
Just
we
like
had
waking
that
up.
into our
It
daily,
makes me smile.
yes, it's like how just other people, it's like we are in some way have crossed each other's path, and so many things happen to make that possible. It's
Yes.
like I have to be grateful, even if someone is you know being grumpy or cutting me off in the road. I still just have to smile, because like for all I know, because I had to hit my brakes, I avoided an accident.
Hmm.
Yes.
Hmm.
Clearly everything is for a reason, so I can't
Hmm.
I can't hold on to
I know.
any anger.
I'm like you. I say thank you, Jesus, and keep me.
Yes.
I say, oh, thank you for keeping me from.
Hmm. Whatever I'm being kept from, because I know it's something.
I do too,
Like,
girl. Like you
where I'm
say,
supposed to
danger
be.
seen and unseen.
Right.
All right.
Oh, I appreciate you so, Hannah.
Right.
I'm
Oh,
telling
Yeah.
you,
thank you.
And
it
so
has been amazing.
yeah. And
Thank
so
you.
is there anything else that you know you haven't said that you want to say to the people that are listening?
Um, love each other, love yourself, be gentle with yourself. Um, you're amazing, and as long as you understand that about yourself, accept yourself, respect yourself, love yourself, and give that same grace and kindness to other people.
Other people,
All right.
yes, yes,
Love
yes,
that.
yes. We
Love that.
struggle with that grace, so we.
Yes. It is. It takes some time.
Yeah.
It's not always easy, but do it anyway.
But we got to do it anyway.
Right.
The patience workout. When you work out your muscles, your body, you gotta work out your patience. So when people try your patience, just take a breath and just
breathe. That's what I had to tell myself, to breathe.
Anything else you want to ask him?
No, that was it was just amazing, and I mean, I really appreciate you. I'm telling you.
Right, and I'll say you are the most positive person that I have talked to in a very, 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 very long time. I'm just saying. Yeah, so I would say keep that attitude. We need more people like that.
Yeah, that don't sweat, don't fight over the butter. Yeah.
That's something we learned in one of our
I very couple class. You know, all this bickering about muscle. Pick your battles.
Pick your battles.
It works. I mean, because we're both attorneys, we don't like to argue for free. We both said that, like, we don't argue for free. When we in the house, it's peace in here.
I know.
Like, that's the show you want to watch? That's fine, baby. Let's watch that.
Let's watch that. I know. This is what I'm saying.
Right. Let's say it up for the check.
Right. I like that too. Let's not argue for free.
Yeah, like when people want to get me to argue, I'm like, look, I can argue with you, but I gotta send you an invoice. I'm sorry. You gotta.
I'm gonna use that. I am going to use that.
So the last thing I asked you, you talked about you're vegan, and Tynia was out there looking at all your information. So are there any websites or YouTube channels, anything like that you recommend? You have one that you
for veganism?
For anything?
Oh my gosh, so many. Earthling Ed is great for veganism. I have some websites that I could probably send you.
Okay. I'll post them on my page.
Oh, amazing. So some websites that I can send you there, because there's a vegan boot camp that basically just has some basics. There's a bunch. Showbiz Lee is really great for eco minimalism. So learning to do well for the environment by not getting stuff you don't need.
Okay.
And man, and she has been very helpful, because I thought I was doing everything for the planet, and I was like, ooh, let me do a little bit better. And
that research ain't no joke.
Yes. And information with regard to community supported agriculture, I can share you. There is a website that helps you to look by location to find local farms if it's a thing that you're interested in.
Yeah, because I wanted, we have our guests on, if they, whatever they're into, whatever they're doing, I like to share that information because somebody else wants to know.
Okay.
For sure. And I want to make it as available as much as I possibly can.
Okay.
So send me that information and we'll get it out there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good link for lawyers too. To find a lawyer.
Yeah, we go. Right. One of our friends, his daughter, their daughter she'll be graduating from law school in May.
Oh, congratulations.
If you're in Detroit. So
got through the rough part already. That first year ain't no joke.
Right. Yeah. And she went to Howard. That's what she did her undergrad at Howard. So yeah. Nice. So yeah, we'll get that out there. And look, we appreciate you for coming on, because you could have did anything, but you came and shared with us. So we appreciate you much for that.
Yes, we do. I enjoy you immensely.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem. And you and that husband enjoy these early years of marriage. and then
pre-baby time.
Right, the pre-baby time, and then enjoy the baby time, and then the intermediate time, and then the later years, and just enjoy.
Yes, like us, 35.
Yeah, we've been married 35, be 36 years this year. Yeah.
And like you say, I don't argue for free.
No, if we argue, trust me, it costs me. It ain't free.
That's why I tell you not to argue. So look.
And I'll leave you with this last note, that we'll let you go. Next week's show, we have a judge on here.
Nice.
Yes, I went to school with him, so it should be good. Real good conversation. So, hey, you take care. We appreciate you.
You too. You all have a good one. Happy Inauguration Day.
Yes.
This was Christmas for me. That was my gift.
Yes. Yeah. This is the real New Year start. We all good now.
Yeah,
did you get a chance to watch it today?
I didn't. I was actually about to pull it up as soon as we're done. Someone just sent me the link.
You need to watch it. It was beautiful. I watched it.
Yeah, I've got to watch it
because we're retired, so we don't have to be at work. So I watched it. It was beautiful. I thought I've only been more impressed by one inauguration, and that was Obama's. But this was fantastic. It really was. It really was. And he said some good stuff. And we're gonna try to hold him to the fire on it. But Biden seems genuine in what he's talking about. So
Yeah.
we'll
He has a
see.
genuine counterpart.
Yes.
So
yes.
hey.
Wait a minute. She AKA?
Yeah.
You AKA?
Okay, and an attorney.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You and the vice president.
Yes, that's my soror.
Yes, it.
All right, Hannah, you take care.
All right, Hannah. Thank you for everything, sweetie. I enjoyed you immensely.
Thank you. I enjoy you all too.
You're
Thank
sweetie.
you so much.
And you got my cheeks hurting from smiling.
No problem. You had some good stuff to talk about. All right. You take care.
All right, then. That was so sweet. So sweet.